we've been actually concerned about our performance over the last couple of months. It's not been something that we've been particularly pleased with as a club. We've had certainly lots of conversations with people at the club, including the board members, and then we had a special meeting of the board on Monday to just kind of evaluate everything. Although we've had plenty of conversations offline and at our board meetings just to discuss exactly where we were trending, and we came to the conclusion on Monday, I think fairly decisively, that we needed to make a change, that it was the best thing for the club, and so we essentially agreed to that and moved forward yesterday. So it was a collective decision. I think we do have a lot of people on the board who are experienced and have been around the game for a long time, and I think to some degree their insight I think weighed. But again, I think the decision of the board was fairly I guess decisive. Really, there wasn't any really indecision or we should, or I mean, we considered all the points that you would consider normally, which is, should we let him go now? Should we wait till the end of the season? Should we give him more time? All those things were discussed in full. But ultimately, I think the decision of the board was to make a change.
Was it purely performance related, Ron, or were there any other factors that drove this decision?
I think there are multitudes of factors, but the performance is really what drove the decision. Ultimately, when you look at the results, it's just really not acceptable, I think, for a club like Hibs. There are obviously other issues as well, but not anything that would really overshadow the results. Ultimately, it's a performance business, and we need to have, I think, a mindset at Hibs. At least I hope that's where we're going, of both winning and excellence in everything that we're doing. And that wasn't quite happening on the football side, and it's a shame, because quite honestly, we've got a lot of really good things happening at the club. The club generally, in my mind, is making a tremendous amount of progress and growing and doing really, really well. But if we don't get the football right, it really doesn't matter. And we were not getting the football right, so we needed to fix that.
How confident are you, Ron, that Shaun got the appropriate amount of time and backing at the club?
I'm very confident of that. I have absolutely no doubt that we gave him as the time enough for us to see the kind of performance. So 19 games that he managed, we saw some good, some not so good. So I think we gave him plenty of time. I get people can have some differing. There are factors, like in any season for any club. There are factors: injuries, trades, all kinds of different things, and we had the same. But I do think that the January window from my perspective anyway, and I think I have plenty of backers on this. The January window was a good window. We strengthened our squad. The only negative was losing Martin Boyle. I called Martin personally just to make sure he wanted to go to Saudi Arabia. But the money was just too good, and I don't think the club is in a position to stand in the way of letting Martin and his family get the benefit of all the work and commitment that he's put into Hibs and to his career. So that trade unfortunately came very late in the window, and so rather than rushing, and we didn't have anybody. We had some options, but we didn't have anybody, kind of a standout right there in front of us. So that unfortunately weighed in as well. But generally speaking, if you look at everybody that we brought in January, I think we're a stronger club, and certainly a club, in my opinion, that is good enough today to be in the top 6. And actually, I have 2 managers that have told me that 6 or 8 managers in the league, in the Premiership, would love to have our squad.
Ron, just that period of time, round about just before Christmas, and when you took the decision to remove Jack Ross, and then bring in Shaun Maloney, you said it was an exhaustive research into that period to bring in Shaun Maloney. So I take it you now accept that was a mistake to bring Shaun in.
I think well, and obviously the results have not been what we took a risk. There's no question about it, Brian. I was, to be honest, I was excited about being. I want Hibs to be an innovative club, a club that takes risks. so that we're trying to be on the edge and trying to improve and trying to be better. That was perhaps it was a risk, no question, because this is Shaun's first coaching job as a professional manager, and we were excited about his pedigree, his experience, but there was a risk, and certainly I had that same conversation with Shaun himself. This is a risk for the club, but we made the decision, and I would venture to say, in retrospect, looking back, we probably rushed that. The timing wasn't necessarily the best, and so quite honestly, it's yes, I think it's a lesson for me for sure, that I think we could have been a little bit more methodical and perhaps taken a little bit more time, just making sure that we had the right candidate. But I think we were keen on Shaun for sure. I mean, he exciting prospect, and I hope that there is a future for Shaun where he's going to shine as a manager, and that he does extremely well. I mean, to me, it was exciting to bring a young Scottish manager with kind of the pedigree that he has, and give him a shot. Unfortunately, the results don't bear that out. Just
a very brief follow-up to that then. Do you also accept that it may well have been the wrong decision to remove Jack Ross at the time, given the fact that there was a cup final coming up? Jack had taken you to 4 semi-finals and a final.
Brian, to be honest with you, I think I'm happy with the decision that we made, but on a personal level, I happen to think Jack is an outstanding person and an outstanding leader, and perhaps in retrospect we could review that, but honestly, I thought it was the right move at the time.
I've been down at Easter Road today speaking to 1 or 2 of the fans. Some of them are not very happy, as you can accept.
I'm not very happy myself.
No,
well, join the club.
And indeed, some are saying that it's maybe not the managers that should be moving on. It's maybe time for you to move on. I know it's less than 3 years since you arrived at the club.
Yeah, well, I'm always open to that. If somebody wants to come and make an offer, I'm happy. I'm always open to that. But I don't think you're going to find anybody more committed to the success of the club, more willing to make the investments and put the time in than me. If you can, and if you find them, bring them on.
Would you sell the club then, if the right offer came along?
I'm not interested in selling the club. I'm interested in making the club the best that it can be. That's what I'm interested in. But if there is somebody, Brian, that you feel has the commitment and the passion and the desire to take the club to the next level, you bring him on. I'd love to talk to him, because if it's better for the club, I'll do it. Finally, but it's got to be better for the club. And I don't think you're going to find anybody that's more committed to Hibs than me.
Recruitment is always a key process at any football club. Your son Ian is head of recruitment. He took over last September, I think it was. Are you comfortable with that process, that your son Ian is the right man for the job to lead the recruitment at Hibernian?
Yes, but I am personally. I think he's doing a terrific job. Is my sense. The recruitment, but it's not just Ian. It's the recruitment department. There's a whole set of people. I think 6 people are involved in recruiting. Ian is just a coordinator. At the end of the day, he manages a group of people that are out there scouting and looking at potential recruits. He does the background work. He doesn't make the decisions on who comes in. That is done by the manager. There's a group of us that are involved in the decisions. It's not Ian. Ian is the one that goes out and finds, makes sure that they're available, that they fit the profile that we're looking for, that the manager's looking for, that it's a development investment, that we can afford them, all those kinds of things. That's the work that the recruitment department does. If we don't have it's not the director of recruitment decides who comes. No, that's not the way that works. It's a function. It's not an executive function at the club. There are a couple of, obviously, unfortunately, like a guy like Elias Melkerson, I think is going to be a terrific player, but he needs a little bit of time. He's young. He's very young. I mean, he actually turned 19 in Scotland the day after he arrived. So he's 18 years old, and he's unfortunately by circumstance been thrown into carrying a big load, which is tough for a 19-year-old. But I think if you give him a little bit of time, he's gonna blossom.
Ron, can I just go back to about Shaun? When you're saying it was a risk bringing him in, when you make that kind of gamble, do you not expect there to be bumps along the road and it's going to take a bit of time to settle in? Was that not part of what happens when you bring in an inexperienced manager?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, there was risk, and I expected bumps, but I didn't quite expect the slide. It really, to me, there were bumps, yes, but we were not headed in the right direction. Actually, there was a very good comment made in the board meeting, because we again considered the possibility of, giving him more time. That was obviously one of the things that we needed to discuss. And I think there was a perception, a very insightful perception, from one of the board members about, if you would see the team progressing week to week, that we're playing better football, that the club is moving forward, or individual players are growing and getting better under his management, then we'd say, okay, you know what? We're headed in the right direction. He needs more time. I think there was a general consensus that we weren't seeing that kind of development at the club, that we were where we were. And I think there was a lack of confidence that we could turn it around. So you put that in its spot. And then I guess there were three options really for us. One is to make the decision that we did make. Two was to wait till the end of the season and see how things played out, or commit to Shaun and kind of keep going. And I think the feeling was the problem is waiting till the end of the season would put us in the same position that we were when we brought Shaun on, which is very short window, trying to rush before the season started. And we essentially 3 weeks, manager, get everything ready for the season, etc. So I think a general feeling that by making the decision that we came to the conclusion that the change was the right decision, and then it was a question of when. And I think the conclusion was, if you make the decision now, we give our best shot to reset, bring in a manager that hopefully will be the right appointment, and restart with plenty of time. That gives us 2 months to go out into the marketplace, find out who's available, and then be ready for preseason in June.
The club's had 15 managers this century, 3 obviously in your tenure here. How can the club have any stability when the manager's situation is changing so often?
You know what? I agree with you. It's a problem. It's of all I've done. I think I'm proud of the work that we're doing at the club. A ton of really good things, but probably the one thing I'm most disappointed in myself is the instability at the management level. We need to stabilize that. That needs to be a priority for us. I'm not happy about that. I believe in continuity. I believe you build by creating a great organization with stability. And the minute you're turning people over and it's musical chairs is not a good thing. So I am very hopeful. That's not a reason not to make the change if you don't have it right. So I just want to make that point as well. But I think it would be incumbent on the club to get it right, and to have a manager that we can absolutely fully support him to the point where we have success and continuity. That's really, I think, our goal for this next round. So I think that's what we're going to work on.
And given everything you've learned then over the past 2 appointments, what is it you're looking for in this new manager?
Well, I think, as we discussed a little bit earlier, a little bit of experience, a certain style in terms of the football. I want us to play a kind of a innovative, modern, attacking type of game, which I think is happening all over the world. So I want Hibs to be again on the leading edge. I think we do need we do need a manager with some experience. That doesn't have to be an old timer with a ton of experience, but I do think that we need a manager with experience that knows how to lead and can deliver results. At the end of the day, we need to instill in the club this winning culture. The expectation is got to be to win. Now, we're not going to win every game. I get that, but we need to have this. Not winning is not acceptable. So, I mean, that needs to be the mindset. We'll lose some games for sure, but the expectation is winning.